Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. So today I just wanted to do a quick update on the world boss and also go through some of the best practices for trying to maximize your score on the world boss. So the world boss has changed, so it's an everyday event now rather than a weekend event, and during the day it will spawn for 3 hours, it will disappear for 3 hours, and then spawn again for 3 hours, so on, so forth. So it is only going to be around for half the time, and each time it refreshes, the HP resets as well, because every time you get the HP down to a certain level, it will drop rewards around for you to collect. So with it changing to an everyday event, the rewards have also changed. So looking here, we now get crimson crystals, a few gems, some of the gear, and then some march size with a few speed ups. It's nothing really to shout home about. It's nice, but for what it is, you probably don't want to be investing too much into getting a high score compared to before, where it was a bit nicer rewards. You've also got the alliance rewards, which are again nice, but nothing to shout home about. But getting them every day will definitely be a nice thing. And the more important reward change is that we now have target rewards and cumulative rewards. So the target rewards look like, for each world boss you'll have a target reach of dealing 150 million damage to that world boss. It does say these don't refresh, so I'm assuming it'll be a one-time occurrence. However, knowing Evony and the way they describe things, it might be that they don't refresh with the monsters as they respawn, but I will go ahead and assume that this will be, once you've hit the target of 150 million, you can no longer claim these rewards. So the maximum reward is a premium general fragment, but some of the rewards you get blood varies, resources, speed ups, fragments as well, and some of the purple generals. So today it's Sonada, I believe yesterday it was the Scorpion, and you got Joan of Arc. So the cumulative rewards do refresh every week, and they're just a few little bits that most of us will probably hit, but if you don't, keep going into the video and I'll let you know some ways of increasing your damage. But especially if you do 10 attacks a day, you'll most likely end up getting some far so far up here, with some of the shout out rewards being the awakening stones, especially for those who weren't able to get into the top 10 previously. These are a great one to aim for. And of course the crimson crystals, which are starting to drop a lot more than they used to. So with that, there is also one other change to rewards that I've noticed, which is when you go and hit the boss, you now have a chance of dropping epic historical general fragments. Now I'm not sure how the rate of it drops. Today I got one. However, I do not have a full march of ground to hit the bird of hurricane, so I use cavalry, which means my damage is much lower. Yesterday was a scorpion, which I'm best at, and I got, I believe it was 4 or 5 fragments out of my 10 hits. So it's only been 2 days, only 20 attacks, but from a very small sample size, it looks like the harder you hit it, the more chance you have. But I could be completely wrong, and it's just luck of the draw. But there is a chance of getting them, at the very least. And you have your gem and gold as well. So, other than the fact that it's an everyday event, the rewards has changed, and that it spawns and despawns. The mechanics, from what I understand, are exactly the same. So, how do we increase our damage to this? So, firstly, one beginner mistake is using multiple tiers of troops. So when you go to attack this, you want to use the highest tier troop you have possible and all of that tier. So if you go and attack it, I'll just use these renegades, so I've used all my attacks. So if you, for example, I use this, if that was all the T14 I had, and that was the closest I had to filling out my march, I do not want to be adding other layers of troops. The reason being is that after a small percentage of troops have died, the battle ends. And this can lead to you losing prematurely, because not only is it hitting more than one target each round, sometimes you'll have lower tiered troops and lots of them compared to your higher ones, which means that you'll be exiting much quicker than if you just used that one tier of troops. Secondly, if we look here, if you have up to 250% debuff on ranged troop attack and defense, it increases your damage to these monsters. And this can help a lot, especially for players who haven't really thought about debuffs much. You can get them from your technologies, you can get them through subordinate city generals, and you can get them through the purchases that give you these monarch gear items, which will give you a little bit towards it. Another monarch gear item you should consider using is the war horn, just to get a few extra 1,000 troops in for a little bit more damage. So the debuffs are also a great way to work out which troops you need to use for the counters. So for archers, the counter will be ground troops. For ground troops, the counter would be horses. And for horses, the counter would be archers. So if you follow that, you shouldn't go too wrong. And for siege counters siege, but the next best thing to use, if it's similar to PvP, would be horses. So, a couple of other things you can do to deal more damage but also make the rounds last a bit longer is buffing up with your march size. And then you've also got your all troop attack, defense and HP. And even though we don't take losses anymore, as you can see, all the lost power is at 0. You still are losing the troops, you just don't suffer a loss outside of the battle. So making sure that they've got the extra HP and defense will make sure that you don't leave the battle prematurely and you can get as much damage down on the monster as you possibly can. So that is about it. There isn't too much more to go over. Only other considerations are just to make sure when you're choosing your generals to attack, most helpful ones generally are PvP generals or monster hunter generals, but some that I would suggest not using would be Caesar, because the main reason you use him is for the monster defense debuff, which unfortunately doesn't affect world boss monsters like it would do regular boss monsters. Instead of giving you minus 20% monster defense, it gives you a flat damage towards your overall score, but it isn't very much. And then obviously the same with Sonada. However, if you do have a good single personal attack, you can attach Sonadas to your subordinate cities if you've got the debuffs already and don't need the generals, to give you a little bit of an extra hit. But for a lot of people as well, with your Blazons being most likely have some in rally inside of it, you'll want to alliance rally the monster anyway. But that is everything for today. I can't think of anything else to go over with the world boss. It is a relatively simple boss. Just follow the patterns of what counters what and make sure you have a full tier march of your biggest of each troops. But that will be everything for next time. I will slowly go through some of the other events that have popped up and give my takes and some tips and tricks for making the most out of them. Thank you very much, and I'll see you next time.